So, okay, let's talk more about the past. How much do you think the past of Russian relations with China can define the future of them?
I've done an entire podcast on Russia and Chinese relations that sum up what little I know on the subject. And for many years, Russia was strong and in the driver's seat. And now China's strong and Russia's in the receiving end of that relationship. And the reversal is a combination of Russia's implosion and China's rise, right? It's not a good position for Russia to be in. And then it's isolating itself completely from the West, then throws it right at China's mercy. And I don't think China has ever been merciful.
But why would China care more specifically? They're a
Care about what?
long-term pragmatist.
About holding all the cards vis-a-vis Russia? Of course you like holding cards vis-a-vis
Yeah.
Russia.
But they're not. They're indifferent to who leads the country. Look at Iran right now. They don't care whether the regime topples as long as they get what they want. As long as they
Yeah,
get.
well, we're talking about whether they're going to get what they want from Russia, and I'm suggesting they probably will.
Yes, of course. But how much does that depend on what state Russia is in? How much does that depend on the personal
So the weaker
relationship?
Russia is, the better from Chinese, in terms of what leverage you have over them. But understand that getting what you want, and it has two parts to that equation. One is the competence of your own strategy. So that lies within your own department. And it also depends on the incompetence of the other side and something you do not control. And be aware, if the other side's very competent, you're going to have troubles.
But to be devil's advocate on that, the Chinese aren't free of their own challenges.
No,
I'm
they
not
aren't.
one of
Nor
these
is Russia.
people who.
I gave you the math on their relative GNPs, GDPs. China's just got a much bigger piggy bank to go spend money to do things than Russia does.
No, for sure. Look, Russia's longevity in its current form is a ticking time bomb. It's a matter of time. But this
Who
is why I
knows?
think it's important to
Who
consider.
knows? Think of North Korea. It amazes me how long that dystopian mess, the Kim dynasty, can remain in power. It just seems to be endless.
So at what point does strategic dependence for Russia turn into strategic vulnerability?
I think the strategic dependence is a strategic vulnerability.
So you don't think there comes a point where we're already past the point of too far for Russia? They can't reverse their dependency or
Another concept, pivotal errors. We all make errors, but if you make a pivotal error, it's a term that I cooked up, probably based on somebody else's whatever that I don't even remember. There's no going back to the status quo ante, and the choices following your pivotal error are much worse than the ones you had before going in. So Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor, pivotal error, because they're in a world of hurt afterwards. It's going to be much worse than before having done that. Vladimir Putin, if he had just kept with I got Crimea at no cost and quit right there, he would have gotten his Nord Stream 2 in and be making all kinds of money that way. It's over. He's made a pivotal error. There's just no going back. The choices going forward for Russians are worse and worse and worse. So good strategists try to avoid pivotal errors. And what I worry about as an American is whether the United States is about to make a pivotal error. Going after Greenland would be a pivotal error for the United States.
Okay, no, that's fair. But okay, on the Sino-Russo dynamic, the thing that interests me is that the worse things get, the more desperate Putin becomes.
Oh, yeah, he's on death ground. Another concept from Sun Tzu, death ground. It means you are in such rotten shape that your only hope of survival, and it's not really high hope, is to fight. And so for Putin personally, that's why he's going to double down, because if he goes, oh, gee whiz, I made a mistake, boys. Can't we back out of this one? He's dead man, right? I would imagine. And so he's not going to do that, I believe. And I'm speculating, but I think I got pretty high odds on this one. But on all speculation, you make a hypothesis and then you keep examining it. And when the data suggests hypothesis is wrong, by all means, change your hypothesis. So death ground's an important one. You can also flip death ground on Ukraine, because it's not just that if Ukraine capitulates, not only is Zelensky a dead man, but the Ukrainian people are dead people. The number of people who would be systematically murdered and their culture would be gone is huge. The culture affects everybody. And so if you do that to other people, you galvanize the most incredible opposing alliance so that even a failed country can become a very competent adversary. And a previous example of that is Hitler with his genocidal plans that turns Russia, which was basically a failed state after all this collectivization and shooting the Soviet Union after shooting the general staff and other people, it turns them into a lethal adversary. And it galvanizes the alliance from hell that takes care of Adolf Hitler. So death ground, it's a good concept to play around and go who's on death ground and who's not. The Russian people are not on death ground, whereas Ukrainian people are. The value of victory, what's called value of the object, another concept, is much higher for Ukrainians generally than for Russians. For Russians, it's like it'll be a feel-good moment if they could actually win whatever they define win in Ukraine is. But for Ukraine, it's existential. So they will never give up. And the Russians are just going to be, they're on a trajectory to wind up like North Korea, give it a generation or two.